Now more than ever before, people in general seem to be so impatient. We live in a microwave generation where everyone wants to see the desired results immediately. With the power of the internet at our fingertips, we are accustomed to instant gratification. If we want basically any kind of food delivered, it can be at our doorstep in a matter of minutes. If we desire to learn any kind of information, find any kind of funny video, or desire to view any kind of sports highlight, we have access to it in a matter of moments. Not only are we accustomed to having our desires met immediately, but social media has played a major part in making us prisoners of the moment. When I was young, almost no one gave a darn about NBA preseason games. But now, with instant highlights, instant reactions, and instant discussion threads, everything is being dissected and hyperanalyzed the instant it occurs. One of the ways I've witnessed this play out in the world of basketball is that way too many people are now overreacting to players and teams, just a couple of games into the regular season. If a performance is underwhelming in any way, suddenly people are acting like they recognize a crippling flaw in a player's game that will hinder them for the rest of their career. At the time I'm making this video, Victor Wembanyama just played his first regular season game, and some thought his performance left a lot to be desired. Through the first 3 quarters against Dallas, he hadn't done much. By the end of the game, he had 15 points and 5 rebounds on 6 of 9 shooting. But he also had 5 turnovers and was constantly in foul trouble, as he finished the game with 5 personal fouls. This led many people to condemn his decision making and label him as a low IQ player, which are obviously pretty harsh critiques for a 19-year-old in his very first game of professional competition. Then you also have Scoot Henderson, who was the 3rd overall pick for the Portland Trail Blazers and another extremely hyped prospect heading into the NBA draft. In his season opener in the first half against the Clippers, he had 0 points, he was 0 of 5 from the field, had 3 turnovers, and had a plus-minus of -20. Once that first half concluded, many people on social media began jumping to conclusions about him as a player. I gotta be honest, a lot of basketball fans need to learn some patience and some history. This idea that hyped prospects are not allowed to struggle early on is just not consistent with the history of the game. Yes, LeBron James had a remarkable debut game as a rookie when he dropped 25 points, 9 assists, 6 rebounds, and 4 steals on 60% shooting. But what people often fail to mention is how he struggled tremendously shortly thereafter. In his 3rd regular season game, which was against the Blazers, he scored only 8 points on a terrible 3 of 12 shooting, and he had a plus-minus of -21. The very next game against the Denver Nuggets, LeBron only had 7 points on 3 of 11 shooting in 41 minutes of action. I can only imagine how he would have been getting destroyed on social media if it had been around in 2003. Obviously, LeBron turned out pretty okay after that, and even went on to win the Rookie of the Year award that season. How about another NBA legend, Kobe Bryant? The Mamba went on to be known as one of the greatest scorers in basketball history, but believe it or not, he was actually held completely scoreless in 10 separate regular season games during his rookie season. That was yet another thing that people could have wildly overreacted to, but again, Kobe turned out pretty alright. Now some of you might say that these are not the most fair comparisons because Kobe and LeBron were drafted straight out of high school and played their first games at the age of 18. Although that is a decent point, there are many other examples of legends struggling as a rookie at a higher age. For obvious reasons, one of the legendary bigs that Victor Wembanyama is often compared to is the San Antonio Spurs icon Tim Duncan. Without a doubt, Duncan had a better debut game than Victor, which was well documented on social media on the evening of Wembanyama's debut game. But what everyone failed to mention is how Duncan stunk it up in the 2nd regular season game against the mediocre Cleveland Cavaliers. In Duncan's 2nd game, he had just 9 points on 4 of 7 shooting. He also had 4 turnovers and 5 personal fouls, which resulted in him playing only 23 minutes of action, which is basically the same thing that happened to Victor on opening night. Duncan was a 21-year-old rookie, so the younger excuse doesn't apply in this scenario. Magic Johnson was yet another legend who had a mixed bag of an NBA debut. On one hand, he absolutely killed it on the offensive end of the floor, as he dropped 26 points and snagged 8 rebounds on 10 of 21 shooting. But on the other hand, he got absolutely pummeled on the other side of the court, as World B. Free of the San Diego Clippers absolutely torched Magic with 46 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, and 7 steals on 65% shooting. Several nights later, Magic got torched again, this time by the Kansas City Kings' Otis Birdsong, who dropped 35 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists on 60% shooting. Magic has spoken about this rough start to his career defensively, and the Lakers coaching staff was genuinely concerned about the defensive liability that he was turning out to be. But again, we know how things turned out, as Magic went on to be the Finals MVP in his rookie season. At this point, I know I might be coming across like I'm beating a dead horse, but I really want to give you guys some perspective on just how things can start out so roughly for an NBA Hall of Famer, which could completely fool people out of understanding the true trajectory they're on. Another rookie player to consider is the great Dwayne Wade. At the age of 21, he had a decent debut game against the Philadelphia 76ers when he dropped 18 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists, but he also had 5 turnovers on 8 of 18 shooting. Although he was the 5th overall pick in the 2003 NBA draft, some people were starting to wonder if he was going to be a massive bust after his second or third regular season game in the NBA. In his second game, which was against the Boston Celtics, he only had 5 points and 5 fouls on a disgusting 2 of 12 shooting from the field, and he had a plus-minus of -17. Then in his third game, which was against the Detroit Pistons, he only had 4 points on an even worse 1 of 9 shooting from the field, and once again, he had a plus-minus of -17. At first glance, this guy was looking like an offensive liability who couldn't buy a bucket to save his life. And then you fast forward a couple of years and you find out that he's the Finals MVP with one of the greatest final series of basketball history. Obviously, there are a ton of other examples of legendary players underwhelming audiences in their rookie seasons. The major point I hope to get through in this video is simply that we as the basketball audience need to be more patient. Some of these young rookies are still literally teenagers, and they're experiencing the toughest competition of their lives while simultaneously being more nervous in the spotlight than ever before. As a fan, it may seem like the sky is falling for a bit, but just remember how some of the greatest players of all time started out their careers as bricklayers as well. So what do you guys think? Do we put too much pressure on these young rookies? I look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comment section below. Thanks for watching as always. Make sure to like and subscribe for more basketball content, and I'll see you guys in the next video.